Living Word Kids, it's Miss Anna. Thank you for joining me for another month of LW Kids Online. Today, we are going to continue to learn about healing. So far, we've learned that healing is a gift given to us by Jesus. Every stripe laid upon Jesus' back was so that we could walk in healing and not be sick. So just like receiving any gift, you have to believe that Jesus already healed you and receive that healing in your body. Last month, we talked about the paraplegic man who couldn't walk. His friends went up on the house's roof where Jesus was preaching and lowered the man down on his stretcher. Jesus was amazed by their faith. He prayed for the man, and the man got up, took his stretcher, and walked home praising God. Now, wait a minute. Was there something super special about this man that he received his healing? Does Jesus play favorites? No way! All of God's kids have the right to receive healing. Healing is a promise from God, and Jesus provided healing for each one of us. Let's look at another healing in the Bible. In Mark 5:23, Jesus had just gotten to the other side of the lake. There was a large crowd of people who had gathered to hear him teach. A leader of the synagogue named Jairus came, and when he saw Jesus, he fell to his knees, bowing before him. He begged Jesus again and again, saying, "My little daughter is dying. Please come and lay your hands on her, and then she will be healed and will live." How do you know what believing looks like? Good question. Here in Mark 5:23, what Jairus said is a great example of believing. In the midst of his daughter being so sick she could die, he says, "Please come lay your hands on her and she will be healed." Many people would say, well, if you lay your hands on her, she might be healed. Maybe, might, let's see if it works, are not believing words. Jairus was confident. He knew that Jesus was the healer, and with Jesus' touch, his daughter would be made well. So, Jesus went with Jairus to his house, and many people began following him. The crowd became so big that people were pushing each other to get as close as they could to Jesus. And during that time, Jesus was walking to Jairus' house. There was a woman who had been bleeding for the past 12 years, who had heard that Jesus was the healer. Wow, that is a long time. She suffered very much, and many doctors had tried to help her. And she had spent all her money going to doctors, but she only got worse. So, when she heard Jesus was coming, she ran out of her house and joined the crowd that was following Jesus and tried to touch his robe. Touch his robe? There were hundreds of people pressing up against Jesus. How is she going to get to him? Remember, this woman was so desperate. Not a single doctor had been able to help her. If she didn't get to Jesus, she had no hope of getting better. What did she do? She squeezed between each person until she saw the back of Jesus. Without question, she touched the hem of his robe. While she touched his robe, she said to herself, "If I can put my finger on his robe, I will be healed." That very moment, the bleeding stopped. She could feel in her body that she had been healed of her terrible condition. Right then, Jesus knew that the healing power had gone out of him. So he turned around in the crowd and asked,
"Who touched my robe?"
And everyone looked at Jesus like he was a little crazy. There were so many people touching him. How could he say, "Who touched me?" Not everyone who touched Jesus that day felt his power. However, the woman with the issue of blood received and expected healing when she touched his robe, and it became her belief. Healing power came into her body, and Jesus kept looking around, and finally the woman came to him and fell on her knees and told him what she had done. And he said to her, "Daughter, your faith has made you whole. Go in peace, your suffering is over." Wait!
Miss Anna! Jesus forget about the little girl?
No way! Jesus wasn't going to disappoint Jairus. While Jesus was talking to the woman with the issue of blood, messengers arrived from Jairus. They told him, "Your daughter just died. Why bother the teacher anymore?" And Jesus overheard what they were talking about and said, "Don't listen to them, Jairus. Just trust me." When they arrived at Jairus' house, Jesus didn't allow anyone to go in with him except Peter, James, and John, who were his disciples. They entered the house, and many people in the house were crying, and there were lots of confusion. And he asked them, "Why are you people crying and making so much noise? This little girl is not dead. She's only sleeping." But everyone laughed at him, and Jesus told the people to leave the house. Then he went into the little girl's room. He brought with him her mom, dad, and his disciples. And then Jesus took her hand and said, "Talitha koum." That means, "Little girl, I tell you to stand up." The girl immediately stood up and began walking. Her mom and dad and the disciples were amazed. Jesus told her mom and dad not to tell people about this and asked them to bring the little girl some food. Jesus is the healer, and he loves you so much. He was on his way to lay hands on this little girl. While on his journey, the woman with the issue of blood received her healing too. No matter what kind of healing you need, it's not too big for God. God's healing power even restored life to a little girl who was dead. If you believe that Jesus is the healer and healing is for you, you will be healed. We are no different than the woman with the issue of blood or Jairus' little girl. The same way that Jesus cared for them is the same way he cares for you. His love is so great for you that he provided you with everything you would need when he died on the cross, even healing for your body. God makes the impossible possible. If someone dies, it seems impossible for them to come back to life. Jairus' daughter is proof that Jesus can even bring someone back to life again. Thank you for joining me today, and until next time, remember, healing belongs to you, and Jesus is your healer. Bye!